Hi, I'm George Kirkham from Lethbridge, Alberta. Today we've got one of the biggest trucks out of the Kirkham International Motor Truck Collection. It's not an International, it was a company that was wholly owned by International from 71 to 1981. This is a Pacific P510-S. So P for Pacific, 500 was a series of truck, and the 10 meant it had a 10-inch frame, and the S meant it had a steel hood. But this is the smallest truck that Pacific built at the time, and was ordered by the international dealer in Grand Prairie as a logger. And it took them about a year and a half from the time it was ordered till the time it was actually produced in late October of 1980. And was ordered as a blue and white, white base color, blue stripe, blue frame. The truck has an 8V92 Detroit, which has been updated to a silver 8V92 Detroit. Has a 18-speed transmission, originally came with a 13-speed transmission. Has an 18,000-pound front axle with torque arms, so pretty serious piece of equipment on the front end. The back is a Rockwell 54,000-pound rear end. It's got a 5.29-to-1 gear ratio, so it's only geared about 60 or 52 miles an hour. Now with an 18-speed, it'll go a little bit faster now because you get an extra overdrive in there, but still a pretty slow truck in today's standards. But for logging back then, you're up in the hills and hauling oversized loads, you wanted some gear reduction. The truck is a double 10-inch frame. The problem with 10-inch frame or double frames is you get rust jacking between the two rails, and the rust gets in there and it just spreads apart. Well, this one was spread apart so wide that you could put your fingers in it. The truck was very tough when we got it. We got it out of east of Edmonton. Jerry went up and hauled it home in the truck, and we started exploring what to do with it, what we're gonna repair first type thing. And we kind of took it in bite-sized chunks. Some worked to the cab, some we actually built a bumper and a grill guard for it, repainted the fenders, repainted the rad. Most of the paint on the cab was what was there already. We actually redid a lot of stuff on this truck. It was it's a big truck, and it was well used. Like I say, we built the front. This was actually a piece of frame channel. But we got the dimensions, the blueprint from Larry McNutt. He was very helpful with us. Likes to talk about old trucks more than I do. He was in the factory when they were building trucks. Just a great guy to converse with. One of the fellows from northern BC that has Pacifics had an extra Pacific logo, so we were able to negotiate that off him. You can't have a Pacific without a Pacific logo on the top of the rad. The rad was sandblasted, painted. It's all steel structure, so you don't have to worry about it. We didn't blow any holes in it, thank God. But just rusty and dirty and repainting. Did a lot of that on this truck. The fenders have been changed to a aluminum material. They would have been factory built as steel, so they're a little bit lighter if you ever need to take them off. Lots of paint and dabbing. We didn't do a complete paint job on it. We did the back panel eventually. That was one of the last things we did to it, on the back panel of the cab. The cab on these trucks, on this truck here, is actually a Paystar International cab. And there's a lot of parts on this truck that are off of International componentry. These front spring hangers, the back cross members in the kind of the web for the in between the suspension on the back are International parts. They did use a fair amount of International stuff. Tires, it had the big flotation tires on the front, an 18,000-pound axle, so you might as well have some big tires on her. We re-chromed the air cleaner covers to give it a little bit of class. Changed all the rubbers out for the hood straps and whatever. Put all stainless steel screws in anything and everything that had a screw in it, just to clean it up, because everything was rusty. What they would have had was a chrome screw or maybe just an anodized screw. And so inside the cab the same way, and all the ones outside here, all these bolts here are stainless steel. And it just cleans it up, the little details that not one of them makes a big difference, but you do enough of it to make a whole bunch of difference. So once we got the nameplate and we got the plans for the grill guard, our staff welder did some very nice work welding this thing up. This channel, like I said, was actually a piece of frame before, had some holes in it. We welded those up. We put this tow hook on there, which is actually off of the front end of a wreck, and it just gets the truck looking like it would have been in the day. Needs steps on the bumper to get up there. The older I get, the less height I like to try and climb. New mirrors, new rotating beacon lights. The exhaust shields and pipes were all changed over time, and we played with this thing for a few years off and on to get it done. This, one little piece at a time is what we did. Put the extra lights on here, because once you're sitting in the cab, you have no idea where this corner is here. You have your line of sight with these trucks are just terrible. You could lose a whole car in front of you and not see it at all. You're so high up. Like I say, without a sloped hood we have on today on most modern trucks, your line of sight is not good. So the truck was built with dual exhaust, and being factory international components, where we could replace the rubbers in here without any trouble. Tidied it up to make it look like it was when it was new. Was my whole purpose. The fuel tanks we had taken off, sanded and polished them. Like I say, new mud flaps. The battery box was a mess and was rusted out. Hardly would hold a battery anymore. Seriously, it was about ready to fall out. So we rebuilt that and welded it up. Then the back of the cab, the sheet metal was taken off, and this is one of the last big jobs we did to it. So we got it out of there, put a new panel in, and then welded that panel back in there and rivets on the side of it. And it's sad. Then we go and cover it up with a headache rack, aluminum headache rack. The wheelbase on this truck was originally ordered at 260 inches. Problem was the frame was rust jacked so bad, we either were going to have to put some new rails on it or shorten it up. So we decided to shorten it up 40 inches, went from 260 to 220. Sandblast and paint and cross members reworked and some replaced, holes filled and ground, and we spent a lot of time on the back end of the frame, which we had done quite a bit to the front side of the frame too, but this back was one of the last things we did, because we had the suspension right out of here and we had the frame spread apart so we get all the rust out of between the rails, primed inside those rails, and then put it back together and cut off 40 inches out of the wheelbase. So we literally took the axles and slid them ahead, drilled new holes, and made a 220-inch wheelbase truck out of it, which is fine for a heavy-duty construction tractor. It has RT 440 Hendrickson spring suspension with walking beams, big heavy 6-spoke cast wheels, and 11R 24.5 rock type tire. We made a nice little aluminum cover for the fifth wheel. We've never had it hooked to a trailer, but we certainly could, and it's got all the air lines and electric lines to do that with it. Tidied up, ground, banged, welded, everything we could do just to take some miles off the frame and the truck. All new brake pots, all new brake lines, air lines. The amount of work we did to this thing over a few years, 2 or 3 year period, was immense, and had some skilled craftsmen working on it. I have the order sheet for this truck, which was 16 pages. I have the build sheet for it, which was 8 pages, and I also have the invoice from Pacific Truck to International Harvester, $68,000. You look at what a truck's worth today, you can't buy a pickup for that kind of money. But this was 1980, so you got to remember and put it all into perspective. They had a pretty cool interior. I always thought the Pacifics that had the Splendor interior, a lot of pillowed diamond tuft panels on the doors, headliner, panel behind the engine in the center of the floor, center of the firewall, was all covered with diamond stitching, and it just added a lot of class to them. So the 892 would have been green originally, and when it was transplanted to an 892 TA, so turbocharged after-cooled, is what the later ones were, and they went up to 475 horse from 435 horse. This got transplanted at some point in time, I'm not sure when. We redid the paint on the air cleaners, and lots of air hoses and wiring, and just lots of little tidying up stuff, painting whatever should have been black, painting silver on whatever should have been silver, and just, cleaned up the air intake hoses and the exhaust pipes, and lots of little piddly stuff that doesn't, one operation doesn't make a whole bunch of difference to it, but if you do enough to it, then all of a sudden, you pop the hood up and it looks pretty good. And that's kind of what we did with the whole truck. You just pick one section of it and work at it till we were satisfied that it looked kind of close to what it was new.